Wait a few minutes before we get started. I forgot to mention, you'll want a candle. I'm gonna light up my incense. I'm excited. Let's do some sigil magic. Welcome. Doing dragon's blood. Activate me, baby. So some of you are probably going to have some paint and markers, but you definitely want to have a sheet of paper for notes. Yeah. What is that banging? That's not right. Spirit activity has been crazy today. Oh my God. I had nonstop dog barking, and I know it wasn't real. I hate saying that. Looney bin! Oh. And then just before, as I was setting myself for this class, I was thinking about certain sigils, and I could hear like a man's loud breathing right here. So I know that I have presence around me for this, and I'm excited. So welcome to you and to the spirits. We're going to get started pretty quick. Have an unlit candle. It can be anything from a tea light to a taper. I like using votives for some reason when I do art or when I'm doing sigil magic. Okay. What else do you want? Something to drink. That is important. And so you do want to be in a relaxed state. So we have 1 more minute. Just connect and breathe. Some of you are in the chaos magic class, so this is going to kind of take you further. And if you weren't, that's okay, because what you're going to learn today is completely separate from that, but it is all connected. So welcome to this class, and I'm excited to get started. When I do my magic, my sigil magic, I like to have something burning. So get your candle, and before we begin, we're going to do an invocation. My emails are going, some people are having trouble getting in. And I just need to light this. Where's my lighter? Sorry, I forgot, because the invocation has to do with what I'm lighting up. Perfect. There we go. So right now, I'm lighting up an herb that I'm connecting with. I can't start yet. We're having trouble getting in, so I don't want to get interrupted. Hold your candle and connect. We are going to be invoking spirit. I'm lighting mandrake. Mandrake is something that I love to connect with when I'm doing Sigil Magic. I'm having a tough time lighting up. Light it. Probably because people are having trouble getting in. Chaos, no. Okay. My mandrake is sparking. And we're going to do this and then move on. So hold your candle and let's just cast a circle around our house. In this place, the circles round, we consecrate the sacred ground. With golden light, the space surround, all power here contained and bound. From the north, the things that manifest. From east, the things of mind. From south, the things that motivate. And water, the souls refined. And yet no place or time there be between the worlds, our words and we. Ancient ones, come and see, the space is sealed, so mote it be. Now repeat after me. I hope you're holding a candle. I am the master in my ritual hour. I connect to witch's power. I live in human form, believing in plants and symbols and covenants sworn. I connect to the earth and the unseen. I connect to the hidden eyes peering from the moon's beam. I connect to the spirits of the stars and the green wood night. I empower my will through this witch's right. I call you, spirit, to connect to my veils. When I reach out, it's time. I'm honoring your power with my sigil, my seed, my leaf, and my powers. Welcome and blessed be. So let's light our candle. And you don't have to do that every time. I'm just trying to initiate you to connection of spirit tonight. Some of you are like pro sigil makers. Some of you are already connected to your art, but I want to do it in ritual style. Okay, so get your pens and papers ready. I am going to talk a little bit, but let me just check everything. I might need another table. Okay. Okay, so how many people, I'm going to put the chat up because you're going to have some questions. We're going to make this a little more interactive. So first thing I want to get started is when we are doing this, I want you to start thinking about the things that you desire and you want. Because sigil work is psychological magic. To me, that's what it is. And sigils work through imprinting our subconscious mind. People who are connected to art or are visual, people who are able to look at those 3D pictures where you look at and it's all just a pattern and then something pops out. Some of you are like, you would connect to sigils. Those that look for signs in nature, they are also people that would connect to sigil magic. Mediums, people who are connecting to spirit, people who meditate. So sigil work is something that is connected to pretty much anyone who is seeking to create desires in their life. And we do it by imprinting our subconscious with our intent, pushing towards our desire, while the energy that the sigil is charged with is released into the universe to manifest. So it is essentially a spell in a form of symbolic representation with the purpose of helping you manifest your desires. And sigil magic, even though it is a modern, and I would say modern magic, because they say it dates back to the 17th century, it's actually very ancient, because words and language, all those hieroglyphs we see, is sigil magic. So think about some of the ancient cultures, the ones that you've read or learned about. Welcome. We're going to, if you have a candle, light it up. And we're just getting started into what the history of sigil magic is. So I was just saying that it is an ancient structure. The old pagans, pre-religion, every culture created symbology. And even the spoken word, one word was magic. So sigil magic is an ancient form where we can connect spirit and intent and connect to whatever power that we want. So the word sigil actually comes from sigillum, which represents seal. And it's used for symbols that represent whatever we want. But in the old times, all of the sigils and all of the hieroglyphs that were there were very significant because they had to do with the evolution, not just evolution of mankind or humanity, but evolution of sigil magic. And it's a very popular use today. People who are connected to the tarot cards are automatically going to connect to sigil magic, because that's one of the reasons why the cards were created, is it triggers the subconscious. So think about, as I'm talking right now, think about the things that you desire and what you want your sigil to represent, because everybody is coming for a certain need, and I don't want need, I want desire. Okay, if you could create a spirit guide for a specific thing in your life right now, that miracle thing that will make you believe in magic, what is it that you want? Okay? So you want to think about that. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of history, and some of you are going to go further in this with learnings with me, but we are just doing a quick 1 hour workshop. So here I go. Ready? So modern use of sigil magic dates back to the mid-17th century. And many people know some of the famous work, the Lesser Key of Solomon. And that was compelled, holding of sigils, a collection of sigils. And these sigils represent the 72 princes of the spirit world, better known as hell. Yeah, that's what they translated it to. It's not hell. These sigils were so powerful that they were considered to be equivalent to the true name of the spirit that they were designed to do. So sigils are not evil, even though every book will talk about them connecting to the powers of hell. Okay? But they are portals of power that have to do with spirit and tapping into the spirit world. And so if you are connected to this tonight, I do invite you to check out and learn about the Lesser Key of Solomon, but look at the spirit behind it, not the teachings so much. So in modern practice, we use sigils to represent spirit or the absence of spirit. And the reason why I say the absence of spirit is because it's the thing that you want that doesn't exist. So you're creating a portal of power. A sigil is similar to an altar. And actually, it is one of the best places to put a sigil is on an altar. So a beautiful table with maybe a crystal and a candle and you know, something that represents every element, a little incense burner. So this magic is considered witchcraft, but it incorporates your beliefs. And the best thing to go about it is to be a non-believer, open to believe. And it doesn't matter if you're atheist or religious, you can practice this. And if you check out every culture, they have. So some of the more popular ones that are in ceremonial magic, like the Key of Solomon, they have to do with working with spirit. And they were one of the first that came out in the open with this. But when we create ours, you are learning how to create and use powerful and effective symbology based on your intent and the energies of the universe around you. So as you're creating this portal of power and ideas and shapes and the things that you're drawn to put into this portal of power is actually the universal form coming into your sight. And it does create more powerful for you. So you do want to understand that these sigils are something that will create spirit, help that you want. And as you continue on your journey, you can adapt this and you'll find out which sigils work for you. The one thing that's amazing is once you get a sigil that works for you, you can use that sigil forever and ever. Okay, so make a copy of it. And I'll show you, like for me, here's one of the sigils. Oops, there's a sigil that I use. You can see I anoint it with oil and it gets all used up. I'll carry this until it's done. That means the lettering will fade or it will rip. And then here's a new one ready to go. Okay. We can also create sigils with paint and make art. Brett, will you grab me one of Patty's? And here's one that dragon's blood. This one is printed in dragon's blood on parchment, and that was traditional in the old magic. Here's one you can frame, right? Sigils can be framed and invoke that power in your house. And it's amazing. I also bead. So many of you see my beadings, and these, to me, I'm putting sigils onto. When I make stuff like this becomes an amulet. So amulets have sigils on them. Okay. And each symbol represents a power. So whenever you see a diamond, write this one down, symbols, because you're going to get lots of symbols. So diamonds represent a healer. So whenever you're around a native person and they're wearing this isn't a neck thing, but I'm just showing you, but they're wearing a diamond, they're a healer. So that's for you to know. Okay. So think about the symbologies that have come to you through nature or signs. Like, what are your superstitions around them? And you can create art for others. So this is something that is different for everyone. The symbology behind it is your magical journey. But once you create a sigil and it works, use it for the rest of your life. You want to start small, you want to take baby steps and trust in the things that you want. So the first thing that we want to do is we do need to be centered. We have to step into a spiritual place. And we do that for any type of work, any type of spell. And all that means is to clear your mind and allow yourself to imprint the direction of the energy you want. So right now, I want you to say in your mind or out loud what it is that you want. One word. Now say to yourself 3 times again. Centering is very personal, and we have to be in a relaxed state to create these portals of power. And so learning how to create these will teach you how to develop the ritual of going into spirit. Now you want to follow your power. So I always have a candle lit. And to me, I always look at it, make sure that when it flickers, that spirit's around. I always have something to light. We need to stimulate our 5 senses, because to bring spirit alive, we need to have all 5 elements in play, unless we're creating something that is specifically for one element. So you want to have romance around you, a crystal, what feels good, calming music. Open your window for fresh air. Now we want to set our intention. So let's start with something simple. Grab a piece of paper and your pen. Okay, let me find mine. And this isn't the art piece we're going to be doing. The first one we're going to do is something that you can do with anything. This is the seed of your spell work. So it's important that you know your intent. We all want to be protected. So you always want to stick to a positive phrase. Okay. So draw a rectangle on a piece of paper. Okay. Inside of it, in quotations, write, I will not be harmed. Okay. Underline the not. Put an arrow and write negative. Okay. Now, underneath it, write in quotations, I am protected. Underline the am, and that is your positive. A lot of people will implement both of these because sigil magic has to do with polarities. Okay, so remember, anything that you're sending out, you're going to receive, and we're working with universal law. However, in my magic, because I do not believe in negativity, we are going to draw another rectangle below it. And in quotations, put, I will manifest an extra $1,000. So I just write the dollar. Some people are like, you should write it all out. I like to write the dollar sign. So do what you want. And then as soon as that comes in underneath it, I am manifesting $1,000. So both of those are positive, but the I am brings it and creates the shift. So when you first start working with sigil magic, make sure you look at both those aspects. So keep that as like a flash card to remember. Again, underline your will. And in that one, that will was not negative. I will manifest an extra $5,000. 5,000 wanted to come out. So change that one to a 5. Okay. But you don't want to use want or need. Never use want or need. It's always I will and I am. And now that you are able to recognize that, you have set your powerful intention. So I always take note on what it is that I want. It shifts my energy and my focus towards my intent. And it's helpful when we write it down and say it out loud. Now, here's the thing. When we look at things spiritually, our eyes, our higher self is seeing through our eyes. So when we are creating our sigils and we go into where we go, as soon as we're in a relaxed state and we start creating our sigils, our higher self comes forward, our divine mind, our demigod superpower, whatever it is that you hold. And it allows us to connect to the spirit world. We also want to know that this will help us bring our intention into the physical world when we write it down, because our subconscious mind doesn't know what's real and what isn't. So if we want love, but we fear it, you're neutralizing that power. If you want love and you desire a tall, handsome guy with a long blonde ponytail and he just rocks your world and you know that's what you want, there's a lot more opportunity in that. So we have to make sure we go out of neutral when we start with neutral, right? Our place of power is when we're in neutral, when we can see the light and the dark. No problem at all. It's really windy here too. So let's move on. Are you ready to move on? So sigil crafting is always recommended to start on with pen and paper or art. And you have to think of sigil magic as like automatic writing. Whatever pops in your ideas, and some of you will actually get to the point where you don't even know what you're creating, but it's happening, and that's magical. We can also do sigil magic digitally. So some of you are graphic designers, so you can do that. But it is something that you want to have fun with and tap into and take time. So now we're going to go into a letter method. So I'm going to teach you another method. So this is going to be, I'm going to put it on my canvas. Okay. So if you have a piece of paper, if you're painting, we're going to do this, but you still need a piece of paper to write on. So this sigil is going on my canvas. On your piece of paper that you can write, your note paper, I want you to write in quotations, I am protected. Now, when you write down your intent, you want to consider using keywords if it's super long, but we're going with I am protected. Number 2 step involves simplifying the phrase into just a few letters by removing any vowels. So let's get rid of all the vowels in that sentence. So no I, no A allowed, no O, no E. Okay. And if your handwriting is messy, rewrite it. I have to. Wow. Now we take it further and we remove any repeating letters. So we have to remove the T's. So we should have M, P, R, C, and a D. Is that what you have? Okay. Now for the fun part. Once you have your letters, these are the letters we are going to rearrange into a symbol. And you can be as creative as you want with this. Each letter can be different size or style, and it can also be repeated as many times as you like. So you can draw a few versions until you find what you're happy with. So for example, okay, we're going to do one together. And some of you are like, I got this, go for it. But those of you who want to connect with this, let's do it. So I'm going to grab my canvas. So the first thing is the M. Where's my marker? There we go. So I am going to be protected. So I'm going to put an M, and I'm going to do more than one sigil on this. So for this one, I'm going to put down here, and I'm going to draw. I have to look at it. Need it pretty. Painting this later. So I'm drawing an M. Okay. Now we need a P. So for me, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my P on the end of my M. Okay. So you can put your P anywhere you want. You could put your P lower and make it come down. That's how I chose. Now I need an R. So I'm going to put my R on the other side. My R is backwards. And now, now I need a C. And the C, I would say, represents the R. So I don't actually have to draw a C. I got one. But if I want to, I could. So maybe I'll draw my C up here. There. But I didn't have to do that C. Okay. And then, whoa, I forgot my T. I didn't have my T written down. I need a T. Glad I caught that. Perfect timing though. See how I joined my T to my C? I mean, that kind of looks cool. Okay. And the D. Now, we can use that P as the D. But it kind of bothers me. I'm a Libra. So for me, this P right here is kind of boring. So I'm going to put a D like that. So with this symbol I'm holding, all those letters are in there. Now protection, I'll hold it up. Want to see it? And you can draw this one too, just to try mine out. Okay. So now we need to keep the symbol. We can leave it. We can carry that in our pocket for protection. We can carve it on a candle. But I want to take it a little further. I want to decorate it. So I'm going to put some personal touches on it. So this step, whenever we decorate it, helps us make the sigil personal to us. We're filling it in with our own magical energy. So I like the crescent moon, so that's why I implemented it as here. But to me, I always use the pentacle for protection. So I put one on. And I always like to add spirit around my circle. So I'm going to add some dots around it just to make it glow. And as you're doing this, take note. Are you thinking about anything? Because if you're not thinking about anything and you're just doing your art, you're in that alpha state. That's how simple it can be. Right now, you're in a psychic channel. I love it. I have goosebumps everywhere. I want to be in each one of your rooms right now. Okay. So I also think this here triggers the Isis connection to me. So you can see I did the T with my C. So with that, I'm going to put an I and draw an I for all-seeing eye that watches over me. The eyes on everything. I really believe in the watchers. But this eye is going to look like a female's eye. Okay. So here's what I have so far. Okay. And the other thing is we can implement other languages. So if you know the celestial alphabet, the angelic alphabet, you can use those. A lot of times I use runes in my sigils. I also like to use pixie fairy magic. Pixie alphabet is all spirals. So we can connect and use different alphabets, witches alphabet even, in our magic. So one thing that I'm going to do is it kind of still looks a little plain. So I'm going to add just a little bit more something. I did that on that, the R. Okay. And of course, you can put a spiral or a circle around it, which we're going to carry on. So as maybe you're ready to move on, we're going to move on. So that is a very simple way to create a sigil. Okay. Now let's do a second method. So this is another method. So we are going to do this one. I'm going to do it on the same canvas. Okay. And if you have colors, you can add colors. So when we're doing sigil magic, and I'll get into colors as well, blues represent your subconscious mind. So your psychic self, your higher self, the mind that gives you the messages when you're not communicating with spirit, your high priestess self. Yellow triggers your waking mind. So whenever you put yellow on your sigils, then you're manifesting in your day and in your life. Okay. Red represents passion and manifestation. We can use and make sigils to release things as well as call things in. And we can also use other people's sigils, just like the keys of Solomon. So we will use ancient sigils to manifest and invoke gods, goddesses, planetaries, influences. They all have a symbol. Okay, so doodle away, but we're going to do number 2. And then I'm going to start going crazy talking about symbols and stuff. So number 2, this is another way you can do it. So instead of using whole letters, we break these letters into shapes. Okay. And this one, some people are like, oh my God. So first, we are going to, on a piece of paper, not on your canvas. So your piece of paper to get your code, we're going to write, I am manifesting health and happiness. We're going to manifest health and happiness. And you have to spell out, and you can't use a thing. Okay, once you have that written, we are going to remove all of the vowels and repeated letters. Wow, amazing how that breaks it down So it should be, what I have is M, N, F, S, T, G, oh, my writing, H, L, F, L, yeah, health. Okay, I'm at the N is done. D and P. So M, N, F, S, T, G, H, L, D, and P. So now you want to write that in a one line. So you can see it all in one line. Now your subconscious mind already has it. Okay, so now that you have it on one line, we want to join all of these together. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go onto our canvas. Some of you who are doing it that way. And we're going to draw a circle now. So draw a circle that all of those letters are going to fit into. Where should I do that? Maybe I'll do it in the center. I'm going to do it above what I did. And you want to join your circle. So if there's a little tail, go around it and even it out. This represents your circle of power. You don't want it to be an unbroken circle. And I usually go around 3 times. It's just my thing. It doesn't have to be. Perfect. Circle of power. Now we want to put all of the letters left inside of this. So I'm going to do the M first. I should have practiced this on my other piece of paper. Now I'm going to be like, is that perfect? It doesn't have to be perfect. There's my M. Okay. I got the M. Now we need the N. So I'm going to do the N right in the middle from the center of my M. Okay, now we want the F. I have to use the center again. I'm going to join it. Here I go. Okay. And you're creating a portal of power, remember. Watch how it comes out. I've made some where you almost feel intimidated with what you create. Now we need the S. How am I going to do that? Like that. If you get any rough stuff, I just did my S and made a rough one. I got to fill it in. So there's my S now. Ooh, I like it. I'm already feeling like Superwoman. Okay, now we need the T. Maybe you have your T there. I don't. So all I did was added to my triangle. Purple triangle now. There's my T. G. Okay. Then I got go across. I went across here for my G. So now it's like, okay. H. Maybe you have an H. I don't. I guess I'll have to, I'm gonna join these two bothering me. So I'll do that. Now I got an H. So I joined all of that. And we need L. I got an L. I'm not making another one. Okay. D. I have a D. I like that. But maybe I will draw a D this way. I'm a Libra. Like it. There's my D and a P. Wow, mine actually reminds me of the chalice. Wow, almost. Okay. And then once you have your letters put in there, you can add color, or you can create them as different sizes. But there it is. You are manifesting health and happiness. Now there's another one which is really hard to explain. So for those of you who are here in this class, I am going to send it to you. And what it is it is a table with the alphabet in it. So it's 3 world table, I call it, 3 rings. Okay. And then these are all cut, and there's full of all of the alphabets. And then you use a line to draw in the letters that you want. So you would still say, for example, I am always growing. Okay. And then you would get rid of the vowels, get rid of the doubles, and then the rest of the letters, you just kind of create. It's like, what are those kids do when you follow the line? That dot game. What is that thing called? Connect the dot. Whoa, I'm old. So it is similar to connecting the dot. And once you condense it, then you'll receive the look. So it would end up looking something like you circle around the letters until you get it. So it's very hard to see, but you would get your symbol. And that is how a lot of the old ancient sigils are made, and why they look like that, specifically the angel ones. Okay, so as you're keep making sigils on your paper, and that part of it, number 3, I'll send to you. It's really hard to explain online without you seeing the table. Okay, let's move on. Oh my God, there's another method. And this method is called the sigil grid method. I'm going to have to send that to you as well, but it's basically a table. You still write out your intention, but then you would use this table that represents numbers and letters. And so some people will take the word and the letters left, make the sigil, and turn them into numbers. So your A would be 1, right? Your M would be 4. So if you did this chart I'm talking about, and you'll get, say you say, I am protected, it would end up being a number. 9, 1, 4, 7, 9, 6, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, 4. So we would take the numerology, the number code, and we would create a grid. And the grid that we create would be either in a square, and you'll see if you Google different sigils and seals, you'll see this. So it would be 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 7. So then I would have this table to use as a sigil. Or you can use the wheel method. And that would be 1, 6, 9, 7, 2, 4, 3, 8. So then it would end up being in a wheel of power as well. So there's 4 different methods I want you to work with and try. Then there is the intuitive method. And the intuitive method involves creating your flow and just intuitively drawing whatever comes to mind. And that is actually known as the best method, because as you get complete and as you know that your art is coming into form and it's finished, your mind released any blockages in that creative project. So we can just create, right? You still want to write down your intent. I am divinely guided. And then you can create a symbol that represents your guidance, right? Mine's always the third eye. So I can create a sigil that represents my inner guidance. Some of you are like amazing artists, and you don't have to be. It could be as crazy, as wild. It doesn't have to be art. It's not about the art. It's about what you are creating, right? So there's the guidance. So while you're doing that, keep creating your statements while I go more into symbology, okay? So I think you all understand that it has to do with your intention, and it has to do with the symbols. You can create sigils just by using symbology. So you can say, I am healing, and draw a lotus, right? But maybe you want to add the medicine for that healing, and that symbol can be like the catechus, snakes, right? Which represent the medicine of the healing. So we can create as much as we want. Now, how do we use our sigils? Once you've created them, it's time to charge them and activate them so that your sigil goes into the universe. And you can do that many different ways. But the purpose of charging them is to fill the sigil with your energy and bless it, like you do other crystals. So once we have our sigil, you want to charge it. And to activate this into the universe, there's many different ways of charging it. One thing that I always do is I like to drum, and I keep my sigil on my place of power, so where I can see it often. And a lot of times, It depends on the sigil, but if I have a protection sigil that I make, and I make sure that my people can see it. They subconsciously might look at it and not know, but every person that looks at it, my figure that's there, that's there. They're protected. I'm protected from their energy. I mean, I'll show you my purse. Okay. Here is, I got these things everywhere. This is my sigil of wealth, right? So I keep this on here until it's all faded and gone. I got my lucky 4-leaf clover. On the back of that, there's a sigil. I carry sigils on, I put sigils on everything. And once you know your sigil and you can visualize it, you can just call it into power by remembering it. Say you like Archangel Michael, you can use his sigil. You can learn it so that when you close your eyes, you can see it when you call it, right? So once you create the sigil, the magic is ready. It's already began. And the purpose is to activate it into the world. So let's talk about how we can activate, and you can use different methods, but I like to drum, okay? So you probably won't be able to hear this, but where's my drumstick? I like to drum. So I make my sigil. I'll have it in the direction that I want or on my altar. And I'll drum and make sure I hear. And I'll drum on top of it. Okay, drumming to me, I can tell how powerful I am connected to the spirit world when I play the drum. And I actually play the drum before I do all of my readings. So for me, when I use my native drum, it opens the spirit world for me. Another way to charge is by lighting a candle and having the candle glow sitting in front of it, right? Like when this is happening, see this glow? That is freaking magical. So you can charge it with the candle. We can also charge it and put crystals on it. Some people will glue crystals on it, right? You can tattoo yourself with sigils. Yeah, lots of people get their sigil done. Actually, we should also do our name. That would be a good one to do, Georgina. So let's do our name, okay? Grab a piece of paper. I want you to draw a square. And this one, we are going to charge in our hands. So draw a square. And in that square, again, write your name. And you have to write the name you go by. So your first and last. Because there's many Georginas. And then you want to get rid of your vowels. These are going to be different for all of us. Get rid of your doubles. Wow. Okay, so take your square. My first one is, of course, a G. So I'm just going to add a line. There's my G. Okay, and then you want your E. Well, you know what I mean. You want yours. There's my E. So make all of your letters in that square right now. No, I don't want my E. What the hell? Okay, how can I fix this? I'm gonna start over. If you make a mistake, you are supposed to start over. There's mine. I took all of those letters and just made that. Very simple. Needs a little fine tuning, but once I put it on my art. So that could be like your artist symbol on the bottom of your paintings. Okay. Now that you made your name one, put it face down in your left hand. You might have to hold it with your other hand. And as you're holding it in your left palm, I want you to mentally say the name you put into the sigil 3 times. So your own name. Pay attention to how the paper responds. If you felt warmth, you activated it. Look, mine even has a little glow when I move it around. Okay, you could put that in your purse. You'll be protected. So we can definitely charge our sigils with our left hand. And we can also put it in our right hand to send it out into the universe. So put your sigil face down in your right hand. Another way we can charge our sigils, and while you're paying attention to your left hand, say your name 3 times mentally. We can charge our sigils under the moonlight. We can charge them under sunlight. We can charge a certain crystal depending on what we want. We can place quartz. Quartz crystal is an all-purpose manifester. So we can put anything into it. We can sing to our sigil. We can put the name of a spirit into the sigil. We can envision white light. And after I create my sigil, I actually take time and I'll look at it. And I like to look at it at a distance, and I look at it for a few minutes. And after I'm finished looking at it, I'll close my eyes and I'll just take note on if I can see the sigil with my eyes closed. The other thing we can do is we can meditate with these sigils. Spiritually, if we're doing sigil magic, we can also bury the sigil in a bowl of salt and put herbs on it. Sigil magic is great on crystal grids. People will chant their intention or repeat it. Sometimes I have to repeat the word that I want over and over and over again because other things are trying to get in. Burning candles around your sigil will activate them every time. And you can also anoint your sigils with oils. Some people like to use holy water. That was traditional. Or moon water. So moon water will activate it. Some people will activate their sigil every month with moon water to build it with the power of the wheel of the year. Some people will hold the sigil on their heart and then they breathe heavy until they get a heartbeat that's faster than their norm. Yeah. And in the old days, when magic was first coming out and a little freaky, people would masturbate or have sex thinking of it. And then people are like, oh my God, oh, come on. If you're going to have an orgasm, might as well think about what you want while it's happening. Right? Like what are those called? I like doing more than one thing. I have to. I'm like, I don't know, there's a word for that. So you can have your sigils on you while you're making love. If it's a love sigil, or you can have it, or a healing one, you can put it in your bed, in your pillow. Okay. You can put your sigil in a singing bowl or let it stay in your cauldron. So much uses. But as soon as it's drawn, it's activated. And we can draw sigils on everything, from powders we're making for incense to salts, to drawing it on our body for healing and then washing it away. A lot of times I did that. I'd put it on the arches of my feet. I draw them with a marker and walk it. And I'm telling you, draw a healing sigil and put them on the soles of your feet. And let it just wear off naturally. Let your bath take care of it. Don't scrub it off. You know, so if you know you don't have anyone looking at their bare feet for a week, try it. Okay, or in your hands, right? But that is something that's great too. A lot of times we can do it on a keychain. I also have a little worksheet that I'm going to send you so that you can try creating each one of these things that we talked about, and it has the grids on it. Okay, so I'll make sure you get that, but it's going to be probably tomorrow because there's still some work on it. The next thing that I want to get into, and I know that we're getting close because I said 9:30, but I want to talk about your magical power, because it should be understood that magic is not only concerned with, you know, achieving our reality, but it's about understanding your limitations. And magic is about breaking self-imposed limitations. So your power and the things that you are meant to have in your life and the things that you want are meant to be connected to your magic. So when we are creating our magic, our power is summoning the energies to make it manifest. You don't need to worry about summoning dangerous demons like you would read in every book that talks about sigil magic. Okay, that isn't witchcraft, right? But they say, you know, that is out there. You're going to read a lot of negative things. And it's because people, certain society does not want people playing with this power. This power was used to create kings and to summon gods. And it was all about power. And we have the right to communicate with our spirit. We're connecting to what we're connected to. So you don't have to worry about manifesting something out of your control. It does not happen. Our ego and our ability and our divine self is the producer. That's the effect. And so you have to trust that what you want is amazing, first off. And you also have to have the ability and the belief system that you're ready to actually experience what magic is about. Because those are like, those, I don't know if you've seen Pokemon or all of these old new cartoons kids are watching, they're all portals of power that you're opening up. So don't let yourself get into a confusion on the magic that you're producing. It is considered chaos magic. But remember, nothing is true. Everything is permitted. And we're allowed to break our restrictions. We're not meant to be in a restricted place. And when we are, we're misunderstanding our true power. So sigil magic is known to have absolute power without restraints. And that's what I love about it. We can have power over the bad, and we can have power from within the good. So it is wielding power, whether we're using it against bad or to produce good. But our abilities is what comes through. And in sigil magic, the magic is the quest for power and the ability to achieve it. So you cannot be scared of power. You have to want it and be going for it. And know that power is not a negative thing. So one thing that happens is when we are dealing with sigil magic, the best time to activate it is during twilight. Twilight is so magical when it comes to connecting to the spirit world. There's a two-way process. How we change ourselves when we are trying to manifest changes in our life. So as magic is being created, you have to let yourself enter a magical reality that is creating what you want beyond the life you're living today. And you have to allow magic to be weird and different and undeniably real, because that's your power and that's your story. But you have to know that all of the things that you manifest come through helpers, and those helpers are spirits. And these sigils are going to become spirits and energies that you summon. And each one of them will be an encounter. And we will one day be able to see the glimpse of the protected spirit that you created through your sigil. And actually, most of the sigils we create, we receive signs from them through wilderness. They actually activate within our territory of where we live. The magic comes from inside of your house, both inside of you, but the house you live in. So sigil magic purifies our house, keeps it connected to us. But we learn by experience. And maybe you say, you know what, I've been carrying the sigil for 3 weeks and I haven't felt anything. Then create a new one. It's not working. Light it on fire and give it to the universe, but know that it's still in manifestation mode. Okay? So you really do have to believe in yourself, and you have to know that you're becoming a magician. And you have the ability to call what you want. So when you make a sigil, you're preparing a magical practice. And there's many people who will make sigils for a living, for trade, or for whatever. And they're very well known. So you always want to keep a diary when you're making a sigil. One thing that I like to do, and I'll just show you, is sketchbooks. Okay, so if you have a sketchbook and it's like empty inside, you can create a sigil on each one of these pages and keep it as a diary. What was done? Where was it done? What was the weather like? What was the moon phase? How did you feel? Was there any ideas or guidance that arose when you were drawing it? So you do want to pay attention to your experiences. You don't have to know the weather. You don't have to know the moon phase. But people who are into sigil magic will tap into all of those symbols, right? Time is part of the practice. So we'll use the day of the week, okay? So making sure that, where should I go from here? I want to get to more. So have confidence in what you want. There's nothing wrong. Honor it, okay? So they say that when it comes to sigil magic and your intention, your word is the bond. Your intent is the bond. So if you say something, you will try it. You have to do it. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. If you say you promise something, you have to be bound. When it comes to magic, if you say something, you must do it. You will be held accountable. And as you become more confident, you receive more power as a magician. Okay? And we also need to use sigil magic to resolve problems. So if problems occur, don't take them on yourself. Try to use sigil magic. And you have to admit errors. Because when you're working with powers, There's nothing wrong with mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Who cares? I fucked up, right? I actually get a kick when I'm able to like say that. Before it was like, would never say I made a mistake. Now it's like, whatever, deal with it. I have to, right? So you have to be honest with yourself and admit the things that you want to fix, okay? We're not meant to carry these things inside of us. So keeping ourselves clear is part of our growth, as well as magic is very organized, right? So we have to be effective in the world. Organization is required. And that's why, you know, writing down and creating your sigil is so powerful, because it creates an organized magic. It advocates spirit. Okay. See. Another thing is, these key ingredients you want to make sure are part of your sigils. Okay. Discipline, relaxation, attention, and transformation. And it's actually known as drat. And those are actually the keys to creating reliable sigil. It's called the drat formula. It also has to do with body, mind healing and training, because once you create a sigil, you have to let it go and let it come. See how you unleash that power. Now watch how it comes to you through the laws. And as it comes to you, you're going to go through shifts. So think about it. Think about the way the posture makes you feel, right? Are you swooping? Are you straight, right? How do you walk? Do you walk, you know, relaxed, or are you a cocky walker? Like all of these shifts that happen to us once we create our sigil leads to a change in your behavior, as well as a change in your body language, because it's becoming you. So whatever you wish to develop, you will receive the qualities. And so you want to be open and attentive to how other people are responding to you as soon as you make your sigil. It's active. And that's part of the training that old mentors would teach you. And you want to be easy, okay? If you feel doubt in what you're calling in, grab that sigil. Look at that sigil. It's there for sensory enhancement. It's there to break the shades of perception and to get you out of the normal experience. Our magical intuitive perception is so dynamic that it changes according to mood, to environment. And there's two basic things that help us explore our perception, which is characterizing as narrowing in or widening. So sensory is huge. Let's get a little bit more into, and some of you will go into a trance state. And that's kind of what you want to get into. As soon as you're not thinking and you're only creating your sigils, you're in a trance state. All of a sudden, knowledge is around you. Your enhancement of abilities are in play. So there is a possession, a power that is there. And they're there to bring your vision. And then there is communal energy, which is actually known in the old days as communal ecstasy. And this is when you receive the channel that you're walking into your world tomorrow with, because of that sacred connection and the navigation of the path that you created through what you drew. And that is actually why old shamans and people would use symbols, is because they would get the visions of what to draw. Okay. And when you do create a sigil, I need you to try to scry into it like it's a magic mirror. Because a lot of times when we create something and we look at it, it moves and changes. And that's kind of was the goal, is being able to see the magic and how the words change. Okay. Symbology. I'm going to get into this now. So just remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, or at least one when it comes to sigil magic. And it can be simple or complex. The more complex, the more people can't figure out, right? So that is important. I want to get into some shapes now, because that is important. When you look at certain sigils, you'll see some are in circles, some are in squares, and some are in rectangles. So let's get into that. So dots, okay? You saw I put some dots on my thing there. So whenever we use a dot, put some dots on around your sigil or somewhere. A closed dot represents the beginning of what you're making. It's the seed, or it can be the center mark. It represents an atom, the energy itself. So whenever you create a sigil, make sure you have a point or a dot on it. And it also represents not only the point of origin, where you are making it, but where everything starts, and you want to create a point of destination. So put a dot, sometimes at the beginning of it, the first thing you wrote, to the end of your sigil. And it actually represents not only the beginning and the end, but it represents the journey along the way. We can use the dot as a place of rest. So dots actually mean, like, you know, at the end of the sentence, rest. Go on to the next thing. So it can be grouped to signify stars, numbers, taking a break, as well as feeling energy. So whenever our subconscious sees a dot, it creates a feeling in our aura. It affects our auric body. Open circle, so open dot, let's say, that isn't very much bigger than the closed dot. And you can see I put some little open dots on mine. Okay, they represent, and so a tiny circle, they represent what is to be achieved. Okay, so it is the nucleus of a cell or atom. So this symbol represents possibilities. It also represents our choice that is made. So say you have two possibilities, or you want two things. You could draw a circle. Whoops, I'm not going to do it on my art. You could draw a circle and a line in the middle. that would represent two possibilities, two choices, two things you want. Okay. Now, a regular circle, so whenever you make a circle, like my middle one, that type of sigil, then it actually represents a container. So we already know it always represents protection, but it creates this sacred space. So whatever is presented inside, it is not allowed to get out unless it becomes whole, complete, sacred, pure, or full of potential. So the circle represents the sphere, and it actually represents the sun or the phase of the moon. So we use the circle in our sigil magic to represent divinity. It can be any god or goddess, it can be any spirit, or even source of knowledge. So if I was going to use a Solomon seal, okay, for in the power of knowledge, I would use that seal, but I would create my own circle around it and claim it as mine, because that circle represents the cycle of my manifestation, the source of knowledge that I am commanding. And it also references to the brain or nucleus, right? So it is like, it is known as the Ouroboros, the snake that has its tail in its mouth. Okay, so it represents protection over what we want. Nothing can cross that line. Nothing can stop it. Horizontal lines are extremely magical. And horizontal lines, whether you're going east, so east to west, represents the ground, the baseline, the foundation. And it can also be the middle divide, which marks the difference between above and below. So as above, so below. A lot of sigils that represent that will have a horizontal line from east to west. And it also represents the border of getting rid of a hurdle. So the horizontal lines from east to west is overcoming a hurdle of the past. So if something's following you from the past, make a sigil and put a east to west line. West to east line is invocation. So you're inviting spirit to come upon your path. Okay? And that would make sense. Spirit, we can call upon spirits we love through our sigils and have them walk our path with us to the future. Now, a short line in a sigil represents, so mine has two short lines. Where's the camera? See, these two little ones would represent a short line within a long. Well, the short lines represent a minus or a removal. So if you end up drawing your sigil and all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, oh my God, I have two lines there, short ones, something's been removed. And you didn't even know it. Two short parallel horizontal lines represent equality. So two things were removed, but they're same, they're facing each other. So there's neutral, there's equal energy there, it's balanced. And that represents a channel or a road. Or we can use it to represent I can't say it, like a canal, like an earth thing with a, like that big thing people go see, Grand Canyon Canal type thing. Vertical lines that travel north to south represent spirits connecting above and below, heaven and earth. You're forming a border, but it's also creating a border between left and right spaces. Okay? So that also represents the male and female. So when we draw a vertical line, that first vertical line represents the phallus, an erect one, the seed of it. Even when we draw a tree, that tree stump is a phallus. Even if we draw a tower, so anything that goes in a vertical line, even if they're grouped together, represent walls, pillars, but something that is meant to be crossed. Okay? So that is male. One side is female and one side is male. So try to make sure that you're vertical. You always have one that's balanced. Unless you want more of a male energy or more of a female energy. Dotted or dashed lines are something that we use. And we use that because it has a freeing energy to it. And it actually represents the path of an animal. So if you're drawn to draw a spiral that's dotted, then there is an animal spirit coming through. That is, okay, it could be maybe a bee. So you have a spiral and all of a sudden you draw a flower, right? So it will connect. Dotted structures connect to animal spirits and their paths. So a dashed line would be a minus, but it represents an animal spirit removing so that you can have more of a sense of focus. Okay, so dotted lines always represent animal help on your path. And what is happening to your path? Are you turning? Are you invoking? Are you going backwards? Is the animal taking you to the past? Right? So where is the animal spirit connecting to you? And does it connect to any other structure? Where's the sense of movement? And whenever our dotted lines come to me, I make sure I'm aware of what animals are coming around, and it gives me more insight on the spirit. Crosses are something that are used in sigil magic. You'll see it lots. And the crosses represent an intersection. You have the horizontal line and the vertical line. And the same as in palmistry, right? When you are asking for things, those are the horizontal lines. And when you've received what you want, you have the vertical lines. Same within sigil magic. So crosses have both the vertical and the horizontal, and that represents two different things interacting. So there is a science involved, and it is the symbol for proton or positive ions creating energy. So it is the marking of energy, especially if the arms of the cross are equal. Then those energies go into balance. Now, V shapes, okay, of chevron, so greater and lesser or up and down, okay, but any V shapes that you use are recognized as north and south or mountains and valleys. And we use V's in sigil magic to capture energy or dispel it. So think of it as like an open mouth, okay? It's either bringing energy in or releasing it. So V's are important to have. on sigils because it represents bringing something in. And they also influence other symbols like triangles. So if you have triangles on your sigil or stars or arrows, the chevron should be on there. And the chevron actually represents the old ancient number for 5. And this is where chaos magic came in, because 5 represents being able to hold power and control chaos. Now, X's are also very magical, and X's represent active energy. So you want to make sure you have can't talk. You want to make sure you have an X on your sigil somewhere. It can be in it, around it, but X represents multiplication, right? They use it for math. Well, think about that on a magical level. It's used to signify dynamic energy that is connected to the heart. So it's actually a declaration of truth and loyalty of spirit. So if you are creating a sigil where you're working with spirit, make sure you have an X on it. It also marks something that is forbidden. So if you want to stop something to happen, or you're specifically creating a sigil for safety, you can forbid someone to have contact or to not hurt you by using X's. And we actually use 3 X's to forbid or stop something. I mean, think about the moonshine jugs with the 3 X's on it. And the 3 X's, well, X represents the number 10, right? Which is mastery. So you want 3 X's to represent the 3 worlds and the mastery. Arrows represent, and you can use arrows in any direction, as well as the arrows pointing out of the line, but also in the line, okay? So any arrow with a chevron, which is the V, represents continuous energy. So if you want a continuous energy with no endpoint, universal flow of healing that never stops, because I'm a healer and I'm healing others, make sure that you have an arrow on it. We can also use arrows as an endpoint. So you would mark a circle, open circle on the end of it, or a closed circle, okay? So arrows represent achieving something that is outside of yourself, right? So energy that's shooting in different directions. So if you want to send energy out, or you want to draw energy from outside, you want to use the arrows. And we can use arrows like in a tree. You can draw a tree, and the branches reaching upward could be the arrows, or the roots going down. Well, that is a very powerful sigil. Wavy lines, any type of waves and curves, when we're in a flowing place, waves occur. So when I look at people's sigils, and if I see any loops or waves, I know they were in a feeling, flowing channel. So you always want to make sure there's some wave. And when the wave is positioned horizontally, then it represents water, streams, rivers, waves, mediumship, cleansing of the soul. And when it also represents snake-like motion, which means inward energy and vibrations. So wavy horizontal lines, okay? Remember, vibrations. The up wavy lines in art. See, now you know how I have Patty on here. She's one of the artists I love. So now you can see how I've interpreted some of your amazing work. But wavy lines going up represent rays of light and divinity. So it will manifest security and growth. So we can do wavy lines to represent, like in our sewing, when I'm beading and stuff, I get a lot of wavy lines. I put it in there and it represents destiny. We're weaving it into our web. So wavy lines are weaving destiny, and it is the overall energy of change and transformation. Zigzags, so more pointed lines, are similar. They're similar to wavy, but more sharp. They represent a dynamic energy flow. So they're like static. Imagine a hematite or a magnet. So it represents the law of attraction. And it is essentially connected to many chevrons, right? And chevrons are the things that are representing and cleansing the feelings of opposition. So if you're dealing with opposing energy, you want to put some zigzags on there to create a dynamic energy flow that you can claim power over. It also represents the snake energy, but it represents divine touch and lightning. So if you end up drawing vertical or lightning-like zigzags, then there is a higher power coming through in your magic. Now, it's important that you don't make zigzags choppy, because if you make zigzags choppy where there's spaces, it actually indicates dangerous area or something to overcome. So if that accidentally happens, make sure you smooth it out, okay? And you took power and control over something that could be dangerous. And we do get warnings that way. That's part of the automatic writing, right? Triangles, when we create a closed triangle or a sigil within a triangle, then it represents 3 different angles, and all of them are equal but uneven. So we associate the triangle with pyramids or mountains, which represent enlightenment and wisdom. So the triangles represent 2 sides, whether they're even or not. And so we'll use symbols like the dagger as a symbol for the triangle, okay? And anything that is sharp and pointy that has the triangle within it represents protection over anything that is powerful. It's highly protected energy. So the triangle could be in a sailboat, right? That would also represent protection, but also giving a sense of direction. So we can add the triangle onto anything that we want to protect or receive direction on because of the chevron that's in it. Squares. So we put our name in a square, right? And when I do sigils for other people, like someone says, I need protection, I don't know what I should do, I'll draw a sigil for them in a square. It's really easy. And send that to them, send them a picture, put this in there. And it's a really good emergency thing, because if it's like, I don't know how to really connect with what I'm experiencing, putting a name in a square is going to bring power right there. The square represents the parallel of power overlapping to form a territory. So squares represent territory and an area to be protected. Squares set boundaries from outside influences, similar to a circle, but it also breaks anything that binds. So we'll use, or we can bind. So we can bind things. We do bind things when we create whatever it is in a triangle. So whatever is inside of the square, not the triangle. Sorry, I'm losing my head. So whatever we create in the box is a building block. It is to signify protection, structure, foundation, and boundaries. And when we create sigils in a square, it contains mystery. It holds secrets. It represents Pandora's box. So another one of mine that I use, this is for me to connect to spirits. It helps me read minds. So there is all my spirits, and the symbol for Jupiter is there. So I use planetary and different symbols. Okay. So squares are the building block. Rectangles are also very magical, similar to the square, but it represents two sets of things that are not equal. So if you need something to come into balance, put it in a rectangle. And the two horizontal lines are longer, right? So it actually represents a coffin. So you can see in my squares of spirits that I've summoned to help me read minds or get psychic information, it's all in one big rectangle, right? So that rectangle represents the power of death and regeneration, because these spirits I'm working with are spirits of the dead, right? So this represents a coffin. It represents death or regeneration. So you want to get rid of something from the past, put it in a rectangle. I remembered the rectangle as being a bed. Okay. When I draw a rectangle, I need a break. I need a rest. I am done with whatever it is I put into it. Especially bills. If you have debt, you should be creating sigils in a rectangle to get rid of the debt. Then you'll grow. So anything that we put into a rectangle represents hidden potential for change and growth the way you want it. The vertical lines that go up represent the building or the tower or a contract or a doorway. So sometimes I'll create my sigils where my rectangle is taller, the vertical lines. That's a doorway. Okay. So what doorway would you like? It's like doorway. In magic, we call it the door opener. I don't believe in difficulty. I know it exists, but when it hits my life, I need to open that door and I find my way. I sniff and figure it out. Do I do herbs and stone magic, or do I summon something? And whatever it is, I'm happy to do because it's magical. So up tall rectangles or doorways, sideways is bed, rest, and coffin. Okay. And isn't it weird how money is shaped the long rectangle way? So when I put my bills in my wallet, I fold them in half and have my money facing the long way. I don't have my bills going that way. My bills are like ready. And I keep my big like keep my big bills on the inside. And I just leave my fives, like my mini bills on top. And then as soon as I get through, and all of a sudden I see I'm reaching my 20s, I'm like, okay, gotta charge that up. I have a whole little system. So diamonds are another thing to implement. And you'll see that there are talismans with diamonds. Here's one. Where's one I have? Here's one that I use. So this one I can use as a square, or I can use as a diamond. And I use this in 4 different directions. So diamonds can be used as squares too, depending on the shape of the diamond. But the diamond represents resting, and it also represents a rotation. So whenever we use diamonds, we need a goal. We need a shield. We need spirit to do it, and I need a break. So that is the diamonds are the let go and let the universe symbol. Okay. So I like to make sure I put a diamond, whether it is a filled out one or a hollow one, it doesn't matter. But I like to put that on there to remind myself to let go of what I want. Once I send it to the universe, if it crosses my mind, I feed it energy like, yes, I do want it. So if I'm using money magic, then I know that I either will hear, everyone has heard this, I hear casino music, but I also see 649. Like that is something, it's like, why haven't I won it yet? I don't know, but I see it all the time, so it's coming, right? So I make sure that the things that I want and I want to create, the center of my intention, I always draw a diamond on it. And it represents the entire female form and source of light that is magnifying the power of what I want. So diamonds are the hidden center of creation. So put a diamond on. Crescent moons. So we draw crescent moons, the triple moon symbol, right? Lots of people just doodle the triple moon and don't even understand why. Okay, that triple moon symbol and the crescent represents not only the power of the goddess and divine energy, but it represents change. And it depends on the direction it's facing. So what direction are you facing when you draw a crescent moon? And we will use the 3 moon phases to manifest. So the waxing moon is when we are receiving. That's when I do all my call in magic. I call this in and I do it every waxing moon. And I face the west or the left of me. And when we put a waxing moon on our sigil, it increases the energy and it builds it up for new growth and beginnings. When we do the waning, it represents decreasing energy or vanishing. And the waning moon we draw faces east or right. Okay, so the points of the moon faces to the right. It's that way for me. Okay. And that is departing. Okay, so if we need to release something. When you do an upward crescent, like I did on my sigil earlier, and that represents north, and it is a collecting of energy. It actually represents horns, the God energy, as well as the horseshoe and a crown of luck. So upward crescent is luck. And downward crescent moons represent draining away or overreacting or guarding. So we'll use that to balance energy, especially when it is facing upward. And I know I went over, oh my God, I can't even believe the time. I have to tell you what a spiral is. And I'm so sorry I kept you on with this long. Okay, spirals. So many people. When I was young, I used to always draw spirals, and I don't know why. I love it when I hear that. Okay, I did too. Well, spirals, and everyone loves spirals, represents the shape of life, but it actually represents your DNA's helix. Okay, so the DNA is being activated. That also represents ancestral power. So whenever we have spirals, even fiddleheads or snail shells or hurricanes or galaxies, anything that has a spiral in it that you draw, especially if it is moving, the outside moving into the center, or from the center point moving outward. The spiral always represents inspiration and the mythical journey moving toward or going away from your mystery. So it does represent a direction, a mysterious direction that's pushing you forward. It's an influence. So spirals direct the energy out of the spiral, or they will point the energy and pull it inward. So just like we cast a circle clockwise, that's generating power. When we release our circle, we do it counterclockwise to send it off. Okay, so spirals represent, and they are meant to be made faced in a direction. So whenever you are drawing or painting your spirals, pick the direction you want to build the energy with. Maybe you want to draw an energy center from each of the elements. The tail of the spiral influences how it flows into your sigil. So you can cap your spiral with a chevron, a V, to direct the energy out of the spiral or pull it inward. So spirals are energies, they are slow. The spiral energy that creates is a slow energy, but it is the perfect cycle. And we use spirals to extend the energy of another symbol. Okay, so if you want to extend your money flow, add a spiral on the bottom or top or in the middle of the dollar sign. Hexagons, six-pointed enclosed shapes, are found in nature. So when we use a hexagon, which is a six-sided closed shape, it represents a tribe, a unity, a collective group. It also represents sweetness. So something sweet, something good that the spirits want to bring. Any other shapes that you could not describe, so I could describe as a polygon. So maybe it's like a weird shape with a triangle and a diamond. So any type of shape that you create that has a mixture or irregular thing represents a plane figure. So it represents something that is in play. So you want to look at that figure. Is it convex or concave? Or concave, concave. And what that represents is happy accidents of something to come. So if you draw an odd shape and you're like, what the hell is that? That kind of looks weird. That actually means that something good is coming, unexpected blessing, and it was not planned and it's coming to you deliberately. And whenever that happens, I always try to see if there's any type of letter or number within the shape I created. Because sometimes you can get an initial or a number. Okay, and spirits speak to us through numbers. Of course, I draw pentacles for protection, but stars represent a collective, celestial energy. So whenever you put stars in your sigils, it represents concepts of divinity. Something is guided. So any star on your sigil brings concepts of divinity. Okay, something is interconnecting. And of course, let me see, you'll see on lots of old sigils, because they based it off of the tree of life, the Kabbalah, six-pointed star is used a lot. And the reason why the six-pointed star is used is because it represents the Jewish faith, I can't even talk, faith, but it also represents two equiliteral triangles, right? And this represents the head that directs it in all directions. So the six-pointed star in Sigil Magic is the perfect union of above and below, or the left or the right. And it depends on how you draw it. But it also represents the feeling of all, no gender, non-binary. It is the feeling, the universal feeling. So those are good to put in as well, especially if you're doing a household sigil. So something for a family, put a six-pointed star in it. The septagram, I wear that. This is one of mine. You can see, most of you see me wearing this a lot. This seven-pointed star is so magical, and it connects to many different cultures. So I use it whenever I'm working with, I don't know their culture, or I don't know what their spirituality is, or I want to connect to diverse traditions. And in my practice, I do everything from Native American to voodoo to Mississippi. I do whatever. I do so much. But I found what works in each system, and that's why I do it. But the septagram, so the seven-pointed star, implies that there is a sacredness to it. It connects to the fairy paths. It connects to alchemy. I strongly believe in alchemy. It also connects me to Thelma, and to also people who are Christian. If I wasn't wearing this and someone of religion came and wanted to debate me or say something, I would not be able to be in my spirit. If I wear this and a Christian comes to me and tries to debate me about my belief system, or if I need to hold on to my native belief system, this embodies magical power. So this wards off evil and can also symbolize all 7 days of the week. So I wear this during my week, and I know that the information and how I am standing is connected to my path of the fairies or to the spirits I work with. So the seven-pointed star represents elementals, powers of the earth, the spirits of earth, air, fire, water. Asterisks are easy, and I think that is it. I'm going to asterisks and a heart, okay? And then we're done. So asterisks, so what are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-pointed star, let's say. Okay, 8-pointed star or an asterisk represents cultural energy. So anyone of culture. Oh my gosh. And whenever we put this in our sigils, it actually represents the overall effect. So that is one of the last things you could put on your sigil. And it represents a sparkle to your design, okay, spiritually. So it's like the hidden jewel, okay? It symbolizes secret, hidden knowledge, waiting, to be discovered. So we all have a meaning of the heart, but when we put hearts in our sigils, it will activate and resonate love, romance, passion, devotion, compassion, and joy. So a heart represents wholeness, the content heart, okay? It represents healing the broken or reforming. So we can use a heart for any meaning, whether it is healing sadness or calling in whole love. Is what you put inside of the heart as you draw it. The shape of the heart that you create digs. It's actually known to be a spade. Okay, the spaded shape of the heart represents digging deep, and there's two spirals that the heart actually makes, right? And a lot of people will create sigil just with the two, emphasizing the two spirals in the heart as they're touching each other. And that signifies partnership and developing relationships as opposites come together. So we can harmonize opposing energy by bringing them into balance by creating two hearts that are mirrored. Three hearts joined together form a club, and that represents action and the power of three. And four hearts represent a shamrock, which is used for good luck and prosperity. Isn't that cool that the heart can create all of those shapes? What's used in their cards, except for the diamond, I guess. The evil eye, or drawing the eye, is also used, represents the third eye or the eye of Horus. And it represents psychic sight, spiritual wisdom, and intuition. But whenever we put an eye on, it is going to ward off the evil eye. And this is the belief that someone's jealous energy can harm you, chaos, bad luck, whatever. And you know, we don't have to know who it is, but doing what I do, and all of you have experienced it, when you're in a good flow and all of a sudden, you know, you start like tripping, okay, or, you know, something chaotic starts to happen, the first thing I do is make sure I get rid of the evil eye. Electric things go crazy when the evil eye is upon you. And the evil eye can be someone that's jealous. And, you know, to me, jealousy is not evil, okay? But it creates havoc. So just drawing an evil eye for the full moon on your paper, or putting some of these symbols on, are going to keep you protected. And people are jealous because they're all searching. People who are searching outside of themselves have a jealous spirit. And it's important for us that we break that so it doesn't influence us. Attachments are created all the time. And people that have the unclosed business with someone else, those are active. So an evil eye charm repels and reflects any living or unliving energy from allowing you to receive your blessings. That's why the evil eye is so important to me, because I'm not going to let some energy get in the way of me receiving my blessings because they're upset that I know how to deal with my life. So evil eyes are something that you should definitely have on you. As like my number one thing. And it's not a Turkish thing. I mean, it is a Turkish thing. That's what it's well known for. But even with it being Turkish, that is the place where creation was known to come. Like Turkey and that culture is the beginning of many gods. It is where the separation of man and gods took place. So even with it representing the eye of Horus, it brings us guidance and protection. When I have my evil eye on, I know for a fact I can trust any information or thoughts that come to me. There is nothing negative. And it's awesome. It's like, oh, I can listen to my thoughts and have no doubts. That's confidence. No, I'm just wearing an evil eye. Okay. So the other thing is there's more. There's so much symbology. You can use keys, which represent keeping others out. Anchors represent holding the vessel in place. Butterflies represent transformation, but metamorphosis. And it actually, if you draw a butterfly, it will actually activate the butterfly effect. Hands are very good. They represent ancestors. That's why you see them in caves. So incorporating hands into your sigils will bring you the helping hand. That also wards off evil. Spoons, the spoon energy, just like the Big Dippers, they're known as spoons. These represent always being in a receiving mode. So your current living and the invisible power that is feeding you and giving you blessings in your daily life. So spoons are very magical. Whenever I went to a haunted house or an abandoned place, I always looked for a spoon. So next time you're in an abandoned place, look for the spoon. Spoons represent receiving. And then of course you have your elementals. So you can do the elements and the planets, okay? If you want to do the elements, earth, you can use a leaf or a flower, air, clouds, feathers, fire, flames, candles, water, droplets, or waves. Okay, I have to let you go, but I do have something I'm going to send you out, and I'm so sorry I kept you going. And I could do a continuing because there's actually an old ancient game that one of my mentors, well, taught me. And that would be fun. And it is connected to Sigil Magic and a chessboard. So maybe we'll do, it's called the Game of Life. So maybe we'll do a Game of Life night and just create that. So before you go and I open the circle, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute or chat. Until then, I'm pulling 3 cards on our Sigil Magic and how you'll do. Okay, so I'm just going to go down the line. Everybody gets a card tonight. So Carolyn, you're first. Your Sigil Magic. What are you getting? Friendship. I feel like that is support and connection in the spirit world. And I do feel like it is something that you will be able to help friends with or do together with friends. Okay, Carissa, let's see what you get. Sigil Magic. Boundaries. Oh, that's for your place. So you're meant to use Sigil Magic to create the boundaries you want, okay? Okay, Patty, yours. Let's see. What Sigil Magic? I mean, how can I even pick one for you? Compassion. I think that has to do with something you're meant to create now. Like I have goosebumps even in my heart, and it has to do with someone else's work. So you are a channel for others right now. But I want to pull one for you and your magic. So that's what I want. Finding. So the next sigil you create for yourself, you are meant to find something new within that power. I love it. You're on a quest, Patty. Okay, Natalie, let's see what you get. You're a Sigil Magic, and it was nice to see you on here, by the way. Empowerment. So you need it to empower the things that you want, not just you personally, but the actual topics in your life. Okay, and me teaching you this. Please give me a good one. Courage. That's awesome. Sometimes I question myself because, you know, some things we are not meant to put out into the world. So sometimes it can be, I can get a little shy on stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this and got lots of info. Be alert to symbology in your waking life and then implement them in your sigils. So tomorrow I'll send out a copy of this. You can use it all you want. And I also have a little book that I'm going to send you to have some fun. Just print them out or do it. But thank you so much for joining me. Let's open the circle. The circle is open but never unbroken. Merry we meet, merry we part, until we meet again with love in our heart. So mote it be. Sealing it with a kiss, stomp your foot, and draw some sigils. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Welcome.